And welcome to this video. My name is Arina Kuteva, and I'm the marketing manager for the Smart Mobility and Automotive event portfolio at we.CONECT. Today, I'm joined by Carlo van Driesten, systems architect for virtual test and validation at BMW. Carlo is a speaker at the upcoming OSS.5 Europe, which is taking place in Berlin on September 24th to 26th. Hi, Carlo, it's good to see you. How are you doing today?
Hi, thanks for having me.
Right, let's jump right into it. Could you please tell us a few words about your role at BMW and what especially inspires you in your work?
Okay, I think you already named it with a title, so I will explain what it actually means. So, as systems architect for virtual test and validation. So I'm basically the one who tries to put together the different pieces that come from tier ones and suppliers and put them into a computer game. And we will drive those cars in a computer game in order to see if they work properly. And my role is it to make sure that all of those different pieces, they fit together and are able to be integrated.
I see, that sounds fascinating. I love the part about computer games. Okay, can you tell us a bit more about how you and your team are implementing virtual testing and validation at BMW?
Yeah, so I work in a cross-department team. So you can see it more as a community of experts. And we try to make sure that the different components that are not only coming from external suppliers, but which are also coming from teams inside of BMW fit together. So it is often associated with the word standardization, but standardization not in a sense that you can plug something and I don't know, charge your mobile phone, but standardization in a sense that we create communities and organizations in which technical experts can meet together and can have an exchange on the optimal solutions and try to make this knowledge available. And so it is I think the focus is on finding the right words to communicate with each other, to understand each other, to know what it actually means that I'm handing over to you. And we try to have the best understanding of this packaging of this component and to have the differentiation between companies in the content of the package. So we leave the space for innovation in the component itself, but we want to have a common part in how to connect with each other.
I see. Yes, standardization seems to be on everyone's mind recently in terms of autonomous driving, as in the US and in Europe as well. So in your presentation for OSS5, you'll be talking about the GaiaX trust anchor process.
Mm-hmm.
Can you elaborate a little bit on this concept and its practical implementation? So how does it contribute to standardization and enabling decentralized simulation data markets?
So for this, I have to explain what our problem is. So if we test a car in a virtual environment, we don't only have to put together the car itself, so the steering, the engine, the sensors, the chassis. So everything that we also have to put together in a physical car. But if we put a physical car in the world, then the world already exists. And in this computer game, we have to create the world. So we also need streets, we need buildings and trees, and we need the properties of those materials that are made of. So we have additional components that we need, which are not present in, or they are already present in the physical world, but not something that we need from a deliverer. So the physical world is mostly perceived the same way for every one of us. So the laws of physics apply, and if we drive our car outside and the supplier does the same, there won't be any difference. But we have to describe this world, this digital world, precise enough so that it is sufficient for our test case. So you don't have to describe the whole world, but this piece that is necessary for a task. So how to define this piece and have a common understanding? The base layer of it is a standard that describes how a virtual map is written, and how all those the semantics of it work, and the wordings and definitions. And then on top of it, you need somehow an extended quality control processes that figure out how those components are actually good or not, right? An Amazon-style rating is something that works maybe for clothes or a computer or something, but you need some kind of more of objective criteria. So why am I telling you that? Because the moment you have objective criteria, you're able to price something, right? If you have a pencil, you know it's 20 centimeters long, and it is made of wood, and it has categories of H, B, and B2 or B3 or something, and you have an idea on what it means. But if I say digital map, I'm not sure that you have this idea. So we have to create the categories and profiles on how to measure quality. And if we have that, we can easily, or in an easier way, measure its value. And when we measure the value, we can also create more automated markets. And I said Amazon already, but there are other digital marketplaces. And we can create decentralized marketplaces where everybody who owns a map and can name the quality of it can trade it to someone and exchange value, so money for it. So, but for this, they need a digital identity. And a digital identity is something that you get when you sign up at an online store with your email. So it's an individual account. What you know as well is a federated account. Sign in with Google, sign in with Facebook. So there, a federator takes the role of creating this account, and the same account can be reused in different places. You don't have to create a new one all the time. And the trust anchor system in this case is the decentralized version of that. You do not rely on a single party, but you have to make sure, because sign in with Google, you rely on Google, but you make sure that you build chains of trust. And I give you an example. As the creator of the OSS.5, you vet your companies that are attending. And they register with you, so you know the companies. So you can say somebody is BMW maybe, and as BMW, I know who my employee is. So the chain of trust is maybe that you evaluate if there is a proper representation of BMW, and BMW evaluates if somebody is actually his employee. So you build trust chains that have a certain purpose. The purpose can be the trading of digital data. And the GaiaX trust anchor process defines the necessary steps to create those chains of trust for a decentralized identity, in the sense that you are the owner of your identity, not Google. And the question if this identity can be trusted is not answered by a single entity, but by a chain of trust that you can move along, and you yourself can evaluate if the attestations for this are, for you, trustable enough.
So how do you ensure that the quality and accuracy, how do you ensure the quality and accuracy of the data that is used for those HD maps?
Mm-hmm.
And what validation processes are in place?
So the HD map is one example of something that is part of this digital world. So
yeah.
you picked the good example because you already said HD. Mm-hmm. So what is HD, right? So it seems to be a profile that people can relate to. It seems good. Something is HD, right? But something is then Ultra HD or HD plus. And so you start to be confused about that. And so the first is to figure out the criteria that are applicable to a certain profile, and the profile could be named HD. And those quality criteria must be independently, must be possible to independently check, okay? So you need an open method to validate or verify that those quality criteria are met. And this chain of trust that I explained can be applied in a similar way to the quality of data. So in the chain of trust, I applied it to, is the identity trusted, or certain aspects of the identity, your name, your email, which company you belong to. And with an HD map, it could be that there are different entities that check the aspects of quality of a map. And you collect attestations from them. And with the sum of attestations, you feel more trusting. So the idea is to have not a central place where a certificate is handed out, but more like a web of certificates. Okay, it's like a tree or a forest of certificates with little trees that are somehow belonging together, and everybody attested a different aspect of it. And by looking at this whole web of certificates, you are better equipped to evaluate this quality. And the question on who is attesting and who is selling is answered with what identity they come up. Okay, so their identity is the one that hands out the certificate, and the certificate is attached to the data, and the data is the thing that's traded. So this is like the idea of the trying to get an idea of quality. You have standards, open available standards, that are built by a large community. And the community is enabled by open methods. So you have to be able to verify them independently in a scientific process. And those need implementations, which need to be open source for everybody to have a look at. Right? It's like with cryptography. Why you trust cryptography? Because implementations are open source, everybody looks at them. So I think the methods to evaluate quality are something that need to be open, and the data set itself not. So this is the thing that you sell. You do not sell the idea of quality, because the idea of quality in data is in direct connection to the safety of the product that you're building. Because if all the pieces before fail, how should you be able to verify that your product is safe? And safety, in our opinion, is not a differentiating factor. It's a must-have. So maybe back to also the role that we have is, as someone who is close to the customer, we also have the responsibility to make sure that there is a valid method for safety, and that it is applied and understood by a community, and the community consists of all those companies and people that are involved.
I see. Fascinating. Thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to your presentation to learn more about this in depth. Yes. So that would be my expectation. And what are you expecting from the conference?
I think what brings the most value to me is to be able to connect with peers. So you're at the conference and you have a relaxed setting, meeting someone and having deep technical discussions and argue about concepts. So it's also, I said community is a big aspect. So you were an enabler for community here. So bringing people together so that I can actually get an opinion on my ideas. And that's also my expectation.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And I'm very happy for this testimony. Again, Carlo van Driesten, Systems Architect for Virtual Test and Validation at BMW. He will be joining us for OSS.5 Europe in Berlin in September 24th to 26th. We're looking forward to welcoming you to the conference and see you in Berlin.
See you then. Thanks for having me.